Okay, that's great. Now, today we will continue our discussion on DMA. In the last lecture, we discussed regarding the concept of the same. What is the concept? Like if I have to do the memory to memory transfer or memory to IO transfer, data transfer only. Okay, so generally, what is the procedure that my processor reads from the memory and it stores in some temporary register, and the next time temporary register or general purpose register, that depends, and the next instruction what will happen, that it will give it to IO or to the memory, whatever is the destination. So what are the things that we need to do here? First of all, two instructions are needed, and that means you need to perform the micro operations for the reading of memory, and storing it into the general purpose register, and the next micro operations are that will be from the general purpose register to IO or somewhere. So here these operations can be reduced to single operation, that is from reading from the memory and writing to the IO. Here, no need to store it to some general purpose register inside the microprocessor, because we are not processing them there. Okay, so what we are doing is, so whatever control instructions, so earlier what were the control signals that we were generating? We were generating memory read only. Like I suppose I want to transfer from memory to IO. So first instruction was reading from the memory. So I will generate memory read. That is a control signal that we will generate, and that will be stored into your temporary register. To select your temporary or general purpose register, that signal we are going to generate, right? And the next operation, what will happen, which control signal I am going to generate, the IO write control signal I am going to generate, and then whatever, and to select the general purpose register that in which the data was stored from the memory. So in the first cycle, in the first instruction, which IO which were generated, which were activated at the first instruction, memory was activated. In the next instruction, IO was activated, and intermediately it was stored in the temporary register. Now this entire process can be reduced, can be converted to the single operation. I am not saying that we will not read the memory. We have to read the memory, right? We have to write to the IO. But what will happen? Both signals, that activating memory read and activating IO write, right? Both of them will be done in the same instruction, right? That means what time we have saved, instead of using two different instructions for the reading the memory and writing to general purpose register, and from general purpose register to IO, I will have just a single instruction. That means the save I will save, instead of two instruction, I will just need one instruction. At the same time, read from the memory. Now it is, if you are reading from the memory, the data is available to data bus, and from data bus that you just write it to IO, and that's why that IO is taking the data. Okay, so here both operations are happening, but both of them are happening in single instruction, or in the single in the single go. Single go can have, generally it needs like four machine cycles are needed, as it is required in general instructions, right? But sometimes you can do that by overclocking, by making it fast, by compressing the pulse to half of them, right? Overclocking concept is can be used here, right? So so that is additional part that right now we are not discussing about. But what is the point, right? That in DMA, that instead of two instruction, one instruction time of one instruction will be taken. So definitely one instruction time we are saving here. Additionally, what will be the time saved? So we can say that unnecessary process of doing that, unnecessary keeping our microprocessor busy can be saved again. So that is how, so this one instruction time, that is 4 to 5 clock cycles, saving of them will not make any sense if you are having 2-3 bytes of data, because in microcontroller, a microprocessor, the time will be in microseconds. So in microsecond you will not even realize, but when the data is in bulk, when you have to transfer chunk of data, at that time definitely this few clock cycles per instruction per data transfer will matter a lot. That is what all about our DMA that we have discussed, right? So I think now it must be clear. Last time it was a question that how it will save the time, and I hope it was also discussed last time. Of course, we will take one program, but the case is that concept-wise, you must be clear right now that how it saves the time. Any doubt in case that how time is saved, you can ask me right now. Then we can go to the next one. Any doubt regarding to time saving purpose? Two additional, of course, time is saved, and your microprocessor remains. It is not occupied in this, right? So that is what the next advantage is. So now how exactly this procedure takes place, that like my IO, my processor is going to give me a request, my IO is going to give me the request, to give the request to DMA, that is the request. And that upon receiving the D request, DMA will say hold to microprocessor. Microprocessor will understand, okay, now I have to transfer the control of my buses to DMA. So that is, the control is transferred to DMA and hold acknowledgement is given back. And from this receiving, after receiving this hold acknowledgement, DMA sends the acknowledgement to the IO device, and now data transfer takes place. Okay, so you just tell me that, see, that depends on which kind of processor and all those things you are using. This DMA is not related with DMA is not related with the particular microprocessor, right? DMA itself is its own IC. Suppose I am just considering 8086, and tell me that if I want to read from the memory, how many cycles are required. That depends at which addressing mode you are using, and all those things are needed. But suppose we are assuming that the base one we are using, so definitely a fetch cycle, then fetch and execution. So that fetching part and execution part, and all those 5 cycles will be needed, if you remember, right? It depends on, you see, several things are there, right? That which addressing mode you are using. Suppose you are using that indirect addressing mode, then 3 cycles to read that data from that, and for the execution it will be there, right? So it will be 3 cycles per instruction, so that's 2 cycles, so it will be 6 cycles totally. Suppose you are using 16-bit direct addressing mode, but if it is indirect addressing mode, some more time can be required. And if you are using a pipeline processor, then it will be a different one. It will be a different case, right? So and one more thing, that if you are using this and suppose you want to go for the time saving purpose, then what will happen, like if you are having bulk data transfer, so every time, suppose you are checking the count and you are decrementing the, suppose I want to transfer 100 bytes, so every time what will happen, that I will require one more instruction to decrement your you decrement your counter. One more instruction will be needed to compare, right? And then discontinuities will come, that is a jump will come, right? So whatever, even if it is pipeline, then according to that you need to do calculation, that if you have what you can say, if you have this discontinuities, right? So that that errors can take place in the pipelinings, right? That hazards you have studied last time. So what is my point here, that depends on that how much time will be needed, exact one, that will be dependent on which processor you are using, what is the configuration of it, what, even though but in the particular configuration, what will be the what you can say, the program, how it is written. You have used loop instruction, you have used decrement counter, and you have used that jump instruction, or what you can say, it is a 16-bit operation or 8-bit operation. That everything, so many things are there to decide for that, right? But what is the point here, that if you are going for the microprocessor, as it is a general purpose, it will have variety of instruction. It has to do fetching, and it has to understand what you want to do, and that decoding and fetching part will be required. And it will, at a time, it cannot do the operation from memory to IO. It has to do it, it has to keep it inside its memory. So that time you can save. Of course, if we are not going for we can give the what will be the time required for 8237, because we are talking about the particular IC here, right? And it is just designed for this purpose. It is solely doing this task only, right? It is not a general purpose thing, right? So we can precisely say it will take here that much time. But otherwise, what will happen, that of course, if even though if I'm keeping fixed that it is x86, then again it depends on your program, how you are writing it, right? So but I think you can understand, logically you can understand, the time will be regarding to this understanding of extra instructions as well, not only those two instructions, but extra instruction along with, right? Here what will happen, like if so you will say, okay, what by we don't we will not require to decrement the counter here. Suppose I want to transfer 100 bytes, then won't I require it here? You will definitely require it here. You will require all the operations. Which operations? Memory read, IO write, decrement the counter, but everything will get handled by hardware in the single go, right? So why you can do it in single go? Because you are designed for that. It is specifically designed for just doing this task only, that every time just decrement the counter once you do the operation. So everything is hard coded here. It is not like you can do any, you are not having flexibility there. Okay, so once it is like triggering the thing, like once you are told to do so, you have to do this operations in one go. It will happen. You will why that can't happen in 8086? Because every time you don't decrement the counter, you every time that depends on your there is a flexibility that you can have multiplication, addition, decrement, increment, so many things you can do in 8086, right? So that's why you have to write a particular instruction to inform that now you decrement, now you do so. Why? Because you want a flexibility there. Okay, so that is how you can save the time. So we can, I will not tell you the precise one. Okay, I will not tell you the what is exact time, but logically, I hope you can understand that it will take more time. Okay, and of course it will be more than double. It will be more than double. Okay, so now what we are going for this. Okay, so now, so what we have observed so far, like in DMA, what will happen? Once DMA receives a request from IO, DMA is going to send hold signal. Hold means it is like interrupt kind of thing, please hold kind of thing, right? So what my 8086 has to do, or what my microprocessor has to do, or what my microcontroller, anything that can be there, right? So whatever my microprocessor is, what it has to do, it has to check whether I have received hold, and has anyone asked me to hold, that it has to check, right? So when it will check it after every instruction, I mean every machine cycle. Like once it is fetching the instruction, it will check it here. It will check that DMA, do I have I received it, right? So it's after every machine cycle it is going to check. So you will say, okay, how it is different from interrupt? See, what is interrupt? Interrupt is like some IO wants you to do some task, right? So what you have to do, you have to go to that location, and you have to perform that task. Before that, what you have to do, you have to uh, wind up whatever you are right now doing. Okay, so in DMA, what will happen? In DMA, DMA controller asks you to hold. So what you have to do? You will simply give the uh, all the controls to DMA, and you can continue with your task if it is possible. Otherwise, you can okay. So okay. So you are continuing with your task, right? So how these two are different? So first thing, that when because you have to wind up in interrupt, you have to store your flags in the stack, if you remember, and then you have to go to the ISR routing, and then you have to come back, right? So what you have to do, whatever you are right now doing, suppose I'm doing multiplication instruction, I have fetched my multiplication instruction, I have not yet decoded, I have not yet executed, it is remaining, right? But I have just fetch it, right? Suppose DMA occurs now and interrupt occurs now, when I will come to know, after fetching I will check, is it DMA? Then if it is a DMA, or if it is a hold, then I'm going to give my controls to DMA first. Okay, but if it is interrupt at the same time, what I'm going to do, I have fetch it, so I will execute, I will decode, I will execute, I will write the result back, then I will store my things to the then my I will store my things to stack if required, and then I will give control to interrupt. So what is the point here, that interrupt will be solved at the end of the instruction. If you have fetched the instruction, you have to complete that instruction, then wind up. Okay, but if it is a DMA, because you don't have to wind up anything, right? So what you have to do, you immediately after that cycle, you are going to give the request. I mean, you are going to solve the request. Okay, so that is what the point is. These are the DMA breakpoints, that after fetching, after decoding, after executing, right, after fetching the operand, that depends at which kind of things you are having. Like here it is fetch, decode, here it can be execution, write back, anything, right? Here these are the steps. What are those steps? Fetch the instruction, decode the instruction, fetch the operand, then execute the instruction, then store the results, right? After storing result, can I say it is a completion of your cycle, and then you can process your interrupt. Here your instruction completes, your multiplication instruction completes, or whatever instruction is completes, and then you are executing your interrupt. So this is how they are served at different location in the instruction cycle. After every machine cycle, DM is served. After every instruction cycle, interrupt is served. Okay. Now, idle cycle, if it is, as we have discussed, if DM is not in use, then it is idle cycle. Otherwise, it is active cycle. Okay. Now, so now what if you want to observe the things here? These things already features we have already discussed. Now we are at this point. Observe now. See, these are the things which are the control signals. Suppose I want to read from the memory, then I have to. Okay, it can compress timing. Okay, so you can use the overclocking here, right? That means suppose you are doing the task into 4 clock cycles. That task can be converted. That task can be executed in 2 clock cycles. That means your clock cycle is splitted into double frequency, right? So that feature is provided by 8237. So actually the time taken by your processor will be the half of them, because when that is required, sometimes your IO is faster than your DMA controller, right? So what will happen, because we are having fixed clock speed, right? So what will happen if it is a fixed clock speed, then your IO can be, it is not necessary that IO will work at the same speed as your DMA controller is. Sometimes what happens that you have to cope up with it, right? If it is a faster, if it is a slower, right? If it is a slower, then what will happen, then you will use this ready pin, right? So what ready pin does, that once you will not do, you will just wait for your IO to be ready for the by the after, I mean, if you are reading from your IO and writing to memory, IO must have data. Otherwise you will keep writing the same data again and again in the memory, because it is not updated, right? So once your IO is ready, at that time what will happen, it will tell you that I am ready, and then you will read the data from that. So what ready can help you, ready can help you to cope up with the mismatch speed, right? But suppose your IO is fast, then suppose you take much time for that, right? If you are taking much time to read it, then what you have to do, you have to increase your speed, which is not compatible for so what is required, you may require to increase your speed, right? Suppose you need to increase the speed, then you what you will do, you will read it fast. That is how the you can be faster. Otherwise what will happen, if you are taking much time to read and your IO gets updated faster, you will miss some data. So you have to provide that provision of being faster. Okay, so that provision is nothing but compressed clock cycles. Okay, so that is, generally it is not required, but sometimes it is possible that your IO is faster, then you have to cope up with that, and that is what is compressed timing. You can think like your faster clock is provided, kind of thing. Okay, so what will happen here, instead of 4 clock cycles, you will complete the task in 2 clock cycles. Okay, so that is all about so I think now you should be clear with the ready pin as well. What is it, this pins and this sometimes that is, some options are also available in the software. We will see that. What is that option, that the extended write cycle. Sometimes your IO is so slow, generally that is the case, generally that doesn't happen, that your IO is faster than your microprocessor, or faster than your faster than 5 megahertz clock, right? Your IO is generally involving the users, right? So generally it is not faster, mostly it is slower. So what happens, that you need to give more time to IO. So instead of using 4 clock cycles, you need to use 8 clock cycles to read the data. You have to waste the time there, because your IO is not fast, right? Not necessarily 8, it can be 6, it can be whatever, that depends on the requirement. So you can have extension in the write as well, and that feature is also provided by 8237, that ready can help you, as well as that software feature can help you in that. So that depends how you are programming it. We will see that software feature as well. So we are having that option as well, that we can compress the cycle, we can extend the cycles in the software. Also we can use ready for having the compatibility with the IOs. Okay. One more thing that I told you, that these are the DMA requests from the IO devices. We are going to receive the DMA request, and we are going to provide acknowledgements to our IO devices using this. Now this can be, so you will say, okay, it is active high or active low. That means my IO should give active high signal here to get recognized, or it should give active low signal here to get recognized. So that is again programmable. That is also the feature provided by 8237, that we will see. That DMA request can be active high or active low. That is your choice, because that depends on your IO, right? So some IO gives, if they are ready, they want data transfer, they send a positive signal, otherwise they send negative signal. So that is option provided. Okay, so that application, I mean that option is available for both of them. So we will see how to do so. So what are the things to check? First thing that we have to check, that how to provide the how to set whether the DMA request will be active high or active low. Okay, so that thing we have to see. DMA acknowledgement, how to set it, it is active high or active low. That is the second thing to see. Third thing is that how to set that extended write, and I mean how to set that extended write signal or compression part, how to set it. That is the third thing to see. Fourth thing is that uh, that suppose I am connecting multiple machines here, multiple IO here, so which will have the higher priority, right? So that is the next thing to observe, that generally by default in the fixed priority, what will happen, this device will have highest priority, otherwise, and then one, and then two, and then three. But you can have rotating priority as well. What is that rotating priority? So suppose that my DMA is used by machine 1, then it will have zero priority. I mean, it will have lowest priority, and this will have highest priority. Okay, so that is rotating priority. And then this will have second highest priority, this is third highest, and this is the lowest priority. Then suppose this sends, then this will have lowest priority, this is highest, second highest, third highest. So that is how rotating priority you can give. So how to set it, that is the third thing to observe, that we have to see. One thing is that, of course, because my DMA has to pass the data, it has to read from the memory, it has to write to IO, so it will need a data bus. So that is what is all about this data buses. Okay, now these are the address buses. What are the address buses? It will I check, it will need the addresses, right? So you will say, okay, so does that mean that 8237 is having just 8 address lines? Answer is yes, it has 8 address lines, A0 to A7 only, right? But it can do the 64k, it can address 64k data at the same time. So for to address 64k data, can you tell me that how many address lines will be required? I mean, it can transfer 64k addresses. It can work on 64k addresses at the same time. So if I want to access 64k addresses, how many address lines will be required? If I want to work on 64k, 16 address lines will be required, right? 16 address lines will be required. Out of that, A0 to A7 are the address lines are okay. But how many are remaining? A8 to A15, you need A8 to A15 lines, right? So how will you access them? See, now what will happen? Actually, you are going to use address buses of your 8086 only. You are going to use address buses of 8086 only, right? But what you will do, already 8086 is having its own address buses, 20 address buses, right? Out of that, if you A0 to A7 lines of 8086 is connected to A0 to A7 lines of A0 to A7 lines of this DMA. So that is the direct data that you have transferred, right? So whatever address I am generating from A0 to A7, that will directly appear over the address lines of A0 to A7. Because what will happen, whenever you will ask for the hold request, 8086 is going to give you the control of the address buses, right? So what you will do, you will have connection of A0 to A7 with the address buses of A0 to A7 of 8086. Direct connection will be there. Okay, but now you want to access A15 to A8 buses of 8086 as well. So what you will do, you will connect this data lines with them as well. So this data line is also connected with data line of 8086, as well as they are also latched with A15 to A8 lines of 8086, right? So because you know that data bus and address bus can be latched, right? So they can be served as a multiplexed lines. Just one line you will need to demultiplex them, and that demultiplexing line is this address stop. So what address stop will do? Suppose you want to put data on A15 to A8, then whatever data you want to put in A15 to A8, that data you will store, you will send here on the data lines, and then your address stop at that time will be 1. So what will happen? That will be latched to address lines, right? And now your data lines are free. It is the same concept as your ALE was having, but that ALE is for the data lines and address line of 8086. But here this is address stop is same as ALE, but it is for 8237. And which lines are demultiplexed? I mean D0 to D7 and A8 to A15 are demultiplexed. I mean multiplex, and you have to demultiplex them. Okay, so that what is the job of this address stop? Address stop separates out them, same as ALE. Which lines? A15 to A8 with D7 to D0. Okay, so I think this line must, and this, what are this? These are the address lines which are directly connected to A0 to A7 of your 8086. Okay. Now, so these signals I think are clear to you. End of process is that I am ready, I am done with that type of indication, or stop doing this. If you want to inform your 8237 of or stop doing the task, then you can send that signal here. Or your 8237 is done with the task, it will send the signal here. Okay, reset is what? That everything is 0 now. I mean, from the beginning you are starting. It is just kind of reset. You will send a signal here. Everything is clear. Chip select is to select your DMA controller, and I think all the pins are, I think, is now clear. One pin is remaining, which is AEN pin, which is not shown here. One pin is there, which is AEN pin. What is that pin? This address stop, as I told you, A15 to A8 can be latched. And what about address stop pin? Okay, what is address? Sorry, AEN pin. This address enable pin. AEN pin is also available here. What is that AEN pin? It is, I told you that it is going to 8086 is going to stop the working. 8086 will stop doing the work, and it will hand over the buses, hand over the what you can say buses to a DMA. It is going to hand it over. So something you have to disable. See what, observe my words. 8086 stops executing, and I mean not stops, is 8086 receives the whole signal and handovers the buses, address buses and data buses to DMA. So whenever you are handing over it, that means you have to stop 8086 using those buses. You have to disable 8086 using those buses. So for disabling purpose, you will have AEN line. So what AEN line will do? It will simply stop the latches which are used to which are helpful for 8086 to use 80 address lines and data lines. All those latches are disabled now, right? So what will happen now? 8086 cannot use those buses, and they are already connected with the DMA controller. So now DMA controller can use them. So D0 to D7 works as address line when yes, you can say so. Yes, you can say so. I think I should. So latches is nothing but a buffer kind of thing, where if the now latches what you have to store, right? What is latch? Latch is, suppose I am giving a clock signal. At that time, whatever the input state is, that is stored, that is buffered. Now if input state changes, then output will not change. Suppose right now I am putting data on D0 to D7, right? I am putting D0 to D7 is acting as A15 to A8 right now, right? So what is stored in that, what is available on those buses, which signal is available on those buses? Address. Now I am enabling the edge. So latch. So what will happen? That address is latched now. That is stored. That will not get updated now. Now if my data lines changes and it has the data now, because now every time data lines cannot be used as address line, we don't have to keep those outputs high at that time. I mean, I out see. So suppose I want to use. Wait, what I want to say is, suppose I have a latch. Input is data lines, right? So data lines D0 to D7. Now what I want, my D0 to D7 should act as address lines. Okay. So what I will put D0 to D7 will have address now, and that will be given as input to latch. I am enabling the latch now. So what will happen? Whatever is input is latched. It is stored now, right? So what will be appear in the output? The address will appear in the output. Now so now latch is enabled. That's why data is stored. Now what will happen? Suppose my input is changing, right? So even though input is changing, because my previous data is latched, what will happen? My output will not get changed. Okay. So now I am free to use my D0 to D7 as data lines. Otherwise, what will happen? Suppose I am not doing so. If I will change my data, my address will get changed, right? My address line data contents will get changed, right? So that is what the problem will take place. Is it clear to you, Priyank, or should I take another example to make it clear? And what about others? Are you clear with it? Are you understanding the meaning of latch, or I can take a proper example to explain you? Applicable to all. Are you there? So are comfortable? See, this is actually the concept is a concept of 8086, 8085, and I think microprocessor also that you might have studied in the previous course. Even I can explain. I will explain, but I think that is the concept of CSA, right? That you might be clear with. Of course, I am going to explain you with the other example. Okay, so let me show you that thing. Of course, I'm see one example. Let me complete this part. I'm going to take proper example to make it clear. I will just take a diagram itself so that everything will be clear here, right? So just a second, give me few more minutes, and I'm going to explain you that all the things. Okay. Now, so what is the case? This is the diagram of internal diagram. This is the hardware of your 8237. Okay, what it is like is we are having one timing and control circuit which will handle all the timing part. Timing is that I am ready, the clock is ready is related with the time, right? That clock signal, or rather we can say the control signals are AEN. How AEN and address stop will work, that we will see. Then these are also control signals. So this signals, we are having a circuitry before which will handle this all type of control signals. Okay, then we are having priority encoders and rotating priority logic. I told you that we require some priority. We have to resolve the priorities as well. So for that of course this request, all the requests should be given to them, and this all the acknowledgements should be handled by that, right? And at the same time, based on the priority, you have to generate hold acknowledgement and hold request. So that is all done by this priority logic. Okay, incrementer and decrementer, as I told you, what is the requirement of this? That can be for you have to decrement the count, you have to decrement the address, you have to increment the count. That depends that what kind of things you have to increment your address as well, you have to decrement your address. So we are having a hardware which is related with the that, as I told you, you have to do you have to fetch the instructions, you have to I mean, you have to increment your addresses, you have to decrement your addresses, you have to manage the count as well. Suppose 100 bytes, then 99 bytes, 98 bytes kind of things you have to do. So that hardware is also available, right? This is just buffer. Buffer is just temporary register kind of thing, you can understand. Okay, here one thing is also there, that base address register. What are these things? That what is base address register? What is mode? what is current address register, current count register, base count register. These are the temporary registers. But what are these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? All these things, this mask, command, request, everything that we have to learn now. What is the meaning of all of them? That we will learn now. Okay, but before we go there, I need to complete the previous discussion. But what is the point here? That what to complete its operation, we will need these registers as well, this command words as well. Okay, so after completion of the discussion, we will go to these points, these registers. Okay, and then we will go for the program. So you will be even more clear. I am taking the textbook, I am taking the book here and sharing the screen of that book itself. So it will be even more clear. Diagram is very huge. That's why it will not be possible to manage it into PPT. So just a second. Is it visible to you? Okay, so now what is the point? Okay, so what are the see now here? This is your 8086, right? Now what is the case? Otherwise, you have A0 to A7, right? Which is what we can see. This R, just a second, or we have to see start from here. This is your 8237 DMM controller. In that we are having A0 to A7. What is the case? This A0 to A7 are here. These are those lines. So they are these ones. Okay, they are directly connected with A0 to A7 of your address lines. Now, from where this A0 to A7, these are your address lines, output address lines, A0 to A7. This is from 8086. That A0, these are the demultiplex lines of 8086. In 8086, we are having demultiplex lines, AD0 to AD7, right? So these are those lines. So if you are not doing anything, then they are acting as D0 to D7 data lines. Okay, now otherwise what will happen, A0 to A7 is given to input to this latch. This is the latch, right? So now whenever this is enabled, what will happen, this input, whatever the input is, will appear as output here, that will appear as output here. Okay, and whenever this is disabled, or rather we are it is not working well, then we can directly, if then what will happen, whatever the change in input will not get reflected here. You can say it is like a buffer, it is just storing something, right? So what will happen, whenever I want to use this A0 to A7 as my address lines, I will make this latch enabled. So what will happen, whatever data will be available here will be of course available at D0 to D7, but it will also available as the input of this latch. My latch is enabled, that's why that will also available at the output as well. So at A0 to A7, this address line will also have the same content. Okay, so now address is placed over the address line. Okay, but now what will happen, now I want to I have received that address, now I want to put the data over that. So what will happen, I will put the data over the same line. So that will be available here as well as it will be available here, but this latch is disabled. So what will happen, that data will not alter this, because my latch is disabled, the previous one was, that is the only thing that will that will appear here. The previous data will appear here. That is the previous address that I placed. Now whatever the data will be, that data will be available here. Now to enable this latch, what I will require, ALE will be required. So whenever I want to use this A0 to A7 as address lines, I will make ALE 1. So this latch will get enabled. Otherwise I will make ALE 0, so that this A0 to A7 will act as a database. The changes will be there here but will not get reflected here. Understood? But now suppose I want that this should be controlled by, not by 8086, it should be controlled by this should be controlled by my 8237. Then I should also give one another enable to another enable by AEN. So what will happen with AEN? Suppose AEN is 0. So AEN is 0, then what will happen? This line is this will be enabled. That means this will work according to this ALE now. Okay. I will come to this AEN. I will explain you this AEN after 1 minute. But are you clear with this ALE part? Are you clear with the latching part, Urjit and Priyank? How the data is fetched and it is kept to D0 to D7. Priyank, are you clear with it? Okay, great. Now what is the thing, like suppose I right now with the operation I understood, which was not affected by this one, I assume that this is also enabled, this is also enabled, right? This you have studied in DDC course, this latch you have studied in your DDC course, right? So what is the point here, that suppose I will assume that this was not at all acting here. So it was, this latch was simply controlled by this ALE. So whenever ALE is 1, this will act as address line. When ALE is 0, it will act as a data line. Simple, right? But ALE is the line of 8086. So whenever this is, so when I want that this latch should be controlled by ALE only, I will always make this line 0, right? Because this is OE bar. You can see this is the bubble here. What is the meaning of that? It is all, if I'm grounding this always, then what will happen? It is always enable, this line is always enabled, so just this latch will get controlled by this G line. But suppose I want that this latch should be disabled, right? When this latch should be disabled, whenever the control is not given to 8086, the control is not with 8086, at that time this latch should be disabled. Okay. So so what I will make, this line 1. So this is connected with AEN. So what AEN will do, AEN will be 1 if it is the operation with 8237, because if it is the operation with 8237, then this LED should not get operated by ALE, right? So this should be totally disabled, and that's why AEN is 1, that means this is disabled. And if AEN is 0, that means it is enabled, that means now the control is with 8086. So what is the use of AEN? If it is 1, that means operation is, this line should be handled by 8237, and if it is 0, then it should be handled by what we can say with 8086. It should be handled by 8086. Okay, same way, this it is applicable for this as well. This is also the same thing. See, the same line goes here. That is for A16 to A19. It is for A16 to A19 lines as well. Okay, now what is address drop? Let us learn about address drop. This one. So what is that? So D0 to so when AEN is low, data bus will be enabled. No, when AEN is low, what will happen? Suppose AEN is low. AEN is low, that at that time uh, uh, this latch is useless. That is the only thing that we are learning from AEN. This latch is useless and this latch is useless. So it will not get controlled by ALE. That's it. Now what will happen to data lines and address line, that we will see later. That we will see. But what is the job of AEN? AEN will simply disable this and this. That means if AEN is 0, at that time, what will happen? Sorry, AEN is wait, just a second. AEN is 0. At that time, what will happen? This is enabled. AEN is 0. That means this is enabled because this will be active, right? This is active low. So AEN is 0. So at that time, 8086 will do the operation. When AEN is 1, so whenever it is 0, at that time this will do its normal functionality, that is just we discuss. AEN always must be 0, right? Whenever it is, the control is with DMA controller 8237, at that time only AEN will be 1. Whenever the control is with 8237, at that time only this should be 1. Otherwise, it should be 0. Understood? So whenever it is 0, at that time, according to ALE, this data will get dispatched. It is 1. At that time, what will happen? That is remaining to discuss. That we will see. So whenever it is 1, simply this is disabled. That is, and this is disabled. Both of them are disabled. Okay. Now, suppose my address stop is suppose my address stop is uh, is 1. Okay, so my whenever my address stop is 1, that means this is active high, so this latch is enabled. When address stop is 1, this latch is enabled. Okay, and this latch is also enabled when this latch will be enabled. Can you tell me with respect to AEN? When AEN is 0, when AEN is 0, at that time this latch will be enabled. Okay, so this value should be 0. Whenever this line is 0, at that time this value will be enabled. But what about this not get? So what should be my value of AEN? See, this input, whenever this input is 0, at that time this will be enabled. So what should be value of AEN? AEN should be 1. And what AEN 1 indicates? It is the operation of 8237. So whenever AEN becomes 1, at that time what happens? AEN becomes 0, this becomes disabled. AEN becomes 1, this becomes disabled. As well as AEN becomes 1, at that time this becomes enabled. Okay, and assuming that address stop is 1. So address stop is 1, that means this is also, this latch is totally enabled. If it is enabled, whatever is input, that will be latch in the output. And that output is, that output, if you will see, it is somewhere here. This one. This one. Okay, so that output, these lines are going where? Here. And that is connected with these, sorry, what is that? A8 to A15. A8 to A15. Okay, so what happened again? I'm telling you what happened. My AEN become 1, that's why this get enabled. My address stop became 1, that's why this get enabled, and that's why this latch enabled. So whatever was input, that was latch in the output, and that output is connected with what? 88 to A15. What was the input? Input was D0 to D7. I told you that D0 to D7 will appear as A8 to A15, as ALE we were using the same way. Like now whatever was at the data lines will be given to the address line A8 to A15. So what is the meaning? Currently D0 to D7 is acting as the address line of A8 to A15. Okay, so that is how the output is connected with. Okay, but suppose now address stop becomes 0. Suppose address stop becomes 0, so that means this latch is disabled, though AEN is 1, but address stop is 0, that's why this latch is disabled. If it is disabled, that means whatever the changes will appear in the input, that will not get reflected in the output. That means my A15 to A8 will not get altered now. Okay, so now what will happen? So suppose the data is changed, so then where they will appear? Something I am changing, then where they will appear? So they will appear somewhere here. What are those? They will appear here. They are connected here. And what are those? They are D0 to D7. So now my data lines are acting as data lines whenever this is disabled. My data lines are acting as address line whenever this is 1. I hope it is making sense to you. Are you clear with AEN and address stop now? Now my side is done. Now in case any question you can ask me regarding to this address drop and AEN and latching. I am done with it. Few things are required to discuss, but otherwise it is done. Is it clear to you? Yes or no? What about others? Few things are yet to remain to discuss, but from AEN and address drop the part is over. No, AEN is where AEN you can see. No, AEN is in 8237. AEN will, if it is 1, then this latch will be enabled and this latch will be disabled. So control of 8086 over address line will not be there because of this latches are disabled. So AEN will be by DMA controller itself, right? So AEN will decide whether 8086 can use these lines or not. Okay. And address stop is also in 8237 itself. Like a switch things are there, right? So now, just a second. Okay. Now, one more question is there. What about this B latch, right? So, it is possible. So if you want to, that is, this B latch is additional one that is connected with your data line. Something, if some data you want to send to the upper higher address lines, so this type of latching is done from D0 to D4, right? So D0 to D4 data lines are connected with the A16 to A19 lines of address lines. So that will also be enabled. That these lines will get also enabled when what we can say. Uh, okay, so these lines will be enabled uh, uh, whenever your address drop. Here we can see what is this. This line is whenever AEN becomes 1. So in short, this ledge right now, that's okay if you are skipping this part, but AEN is what that this is used to put the data on A16 to A19 lines when it is under the control of 8237. When if you want to address A19 to A16, so what, suppose you want to put data here, then what you will do, you will make your AN1 definitely, because it is of operation of 8237. So this part of latch will be enabled. Okay. And we will put the data that you want to keep on A16 to A19 over the data lines D0 to D4, right? These lines D0 to D4, these are the D0 to D4 lines, right? These are connected here. So whatever is placed on D0 to D4 will appear here, and it will be latched if AEN is 1, and if the output of this demultiplexer is high. So now what is this? Right now it is not our concern for, but of course, like if I want a particular combination, now if you want to observe this multiplexer, or if you want to observe this one, how this is controlled. So this is controlled by these lines. Which are those lines? These are A7 to A4 lines. Out of that, A4 is connected with this enable, and A these three are connected with what you can say A7, A5, A6, and A4. So whenever this, so what is the point? Suppose my address line becomes 0, 0, 0, and 1. Why 0, 0, 0, and 1? Because these are 0, 0, 0, three zeros, and this will be 1. At that time, this will get 138. This is your multiplexer. So whenever it is 0, 0, 0, it is going to give the output here, right? And at the same time, if you want to write something, then that control signal, suppose whichever control signal is suitable to you, so that control signal, any combination of those write signal, but this is a NOR get, right? Whenever, if it is even 0, output will be 1. Even this is 0, then output is going to be 1. So suppose this is 0. Why it is 0? Because I have selected this, and this output is going to be 1, and that 1 is going to make this enable high. This is going to make it is going to make this latch high. Of course, this is connected with A, and then this is connected with that. The point is that this latch is enabled by certain combination of address lines, and those address lines are high. Then by this multiplexer, this enable will be there, and whatever is appearing in the data line, that will be kept here. So if you want to enable this latch, what you have to do, you have to keep this address line fixed, 0001, right? Other things I don't care, you can keep them in. If you are setting this address line such a way that, so what will happen, this line will get enabled. Already the operation is with 8237, so AEN will be 1, so this latch is enabled. So whatever is available at D0 to D4, that will be available at A16 to A18 if it is required. This is that operation, right? But right now we are not going in that details right now. So that is, I hope that will be okay if you will not understand this portion. But this is how the addresses are can be used. We are not interested in this portion, as I told you earlier. That much is sufficient for us to understand about address line and address straw. Okay, this portion you can simply ignore for now. Okay, so let us go back to our original discussion. Okay, now we are going for some registers of 8237. These ones we are talking about, these registers. These registers. Which are those? So they are current address register, which current address register, from the name can you understand what is the use of it, what it is? Current address register, what it can be? It is 16-bit it is of 16-bit width. Current address register, what is the meaning of that? Can you tell me what can it be? If you can answer, if you will answer, you will be even more clear with the point, where it will be easy to write a program if you are doing so. Quickly. It stores the address which is currently used, right? So suppose I am reading from a memory, I have to point out to a certain address, right? So that current address is stored in CAR. Suppose I am writing to memory, then also I will point to certain address in the memory, right? So wherever I am, it is like a program counter thing, right? But it is of 8237. So and once the operation is done, one data is transferred, what you have to do with the current address? Suppose you are reading from a memory, what you have to do with the current address data? You are currently pointing at somewhere, you have read that, then what you have to do? What you have to do with the CAR? It is pointing to current one. Currently, whatever the memory you have read, what you will do next? You will go for the next one. It can be increment or it can be a decrementer, right? You have to increment that current address, or you have to decrement, right? So depending on how it is programmed, that you have to program whether to increment or decrement. Then next is current word counter register. Current word count, can you understand what it is? Current word count, from the name can you understand what is that? Current word count. Word count, can you understand word count? What is word count? Suppose I want to transfer 100 bytes, right? So that will be a count that I have to store, current count register. How many? Then I will decrement, then 99, then 98. That what the count will be represented by a current word count register. But suppose you are loading 10 value, then 11 bytes will get transferred. Okay, so for that, for to understand that, we have to go for very internal details of 8237. So right now we will not go in that depth, but what we know here, that if I want to transfer n counts, I have to write n minus 1 here. Okay, so that is what you have to remember here. Next is base address and base word count. So base address is what, like suppose I want to do block transfer, right? Again and again, like suppose I want to transfer, suppose I am taking data from IO, some sensor is sending me the data, right? Say it is of 24 hours, and every hour it is sending me data, so I am going to store that data for set 7 a.m., then 8 a.m., then 9 a.m., then 10 a.m. So I have a location. In that location, say at 7 a.m., I'm using particular location. So whatever data at that location will be for 7 a.m. data. Okay. Then my process starts at 7 a.m. and it will continues up to 12 in the night, right? So 7 to 12. that I have to store that many locations of the memory I will use. Now what will happen in the next day? In the next day again I have to read the data of 7. So what will happen? I'm using the same memory locations for the next block. Are you getting the case? So it is possible that I told you for the that for the hours and for the entire day, but generally it is possible for that I am storing data which is related to particular second in the first location, in the next microsecond, the next location. In that way I am storing, and I am completing that location. Then I have to restart from the original location. Then I have to auto initiate the things, like so again you fill all the data again and come to the last location, again start from the first location, right? Again store that many data, again come to the last location, again start with the first location. So this is auto initiation. What is auto initiation? Suppose I'm storing 100 location, I will start from 000, I will go to 64th location, that is 0064h, or rather you are going for the 100th location, right? So and again I will start with the 00 location. So can I say I'm storing my, I will require to store that base address. Currently my base address and current address is 00. Now what will happen to my current address? Current address will become 001, but my base address will remain 0000. Now when my current address will become 64, that is 100 locations are completed, then what will happen? In my current location I am going to store my base address again. So what will happen? My current register will again become 0000. Okay, same way base count. What is base count? Current word count is what? Suppose earlier it was 100. Earlier when I started, my current word and my base word count was 100. But now current word will become 99, 98, 97 as the data will get complete, but base word count will remain 100 itself. It will remain 100 itself, right? So now um, so that is all about base word. So it is generally used in the auto initiation mode, right? And it is used to store the base location and the base word count, from where you have to load it again in CAR and CWCR when you are transferring the data from the same memory area. At that time this is useful. Now next is interesting, which is a command register. What is command register? That portion, that discussion, that we will discuss in the next lecture. From the command word or command register, we are going to discuss in the next lecture.